Thank you. Okay, now there are so many things that people don't realize that are in your kitchen or out in your front or your backyard that you can use in a moment. And that's what I want to go through, because you can get just as dynamic results from a potato or a carrot or cabbage that will just absolutely amaze you. And I'll show you how. But I want to talk about potatoes because people don't know this about potatoes. Potatoes, now we're talking about not cooked, raw. You'll see that it's one of the most alkaline reacting foods. You know, everybody's into pH, so you want to have a good pH, eat raw potatoes. And it contains many vitamins and minerals. We just look at a potato, it's kind of white and has a brown, you know, outer covering, and we don't think anything about it. It's 20% carbohydrates and it's 2% protein. Raw, this is one of the big keys in potatoes. Raw has a high concentration of protease inhibitors, which neutralizes virus and cancer. So it's wonderful because it neutralizes all those cancer cells, and it inhibits them. It sort of blocks them from growing. Potato, isn't that amazing? And they have polyphenols that prevent the mutation of cancer cells. You understand that cancer cells mutate together, and then they grow and form, and it produces polyphenol, which prevents that in the body. Because they say we all have cancer cells, so you're eating raw potatoes off and on type of thing, you're going to prevent it from mutating, the cancer cells in your body. In other words, they get together, they mate, and they develop, you could say. And the skins have lots of antioxidant activity. Now, again, that's raw. Cooked, you still get a lot of benefits, you know, as far as a healthy food to eat. But if you're doing something medicinally, then you want to have it raw. And it's just amazing. And all of this is in your book, so you don't have to always take notes. So here's some of the medicinal values of a potato. Great for inflammation, great for bruises, great for sprains and burns. Fractures, it's wonderful. We can put this on the lady that thinks she may have fractured her toe or whatever. We can almost pick anything here, because comfrey is a bone knitter. I mean, we can just, almost anything will work in many respects within the vegetable kingdom. And hemorrhoids, I'm going to show you how you do that for hemorrhoids. Abscesses, appendicitis, neuralgia. I mean, it just goes on and on. Boils, infected cysts, carbuncles, inflamed eyes. Now, with my children growing up, if they got a sty, you know, or a pink eye, I used to I grate it now and put it in a chuck, because those chucks are so good for things. But back then, I would just put a slice of potato over their eye and just ace bandage it on. And, you know, you have to do it when they have pink eye or styes of some kind. Could take several days to clear it up, but it's really good for eyes. You know, good if your eyes are tired and red, you can just lay down with potatoes over them, or cucumbers. That's another one that'll clear up the eyes and make it feel really good. Put slices on your eyes. Now I'm going to talk about cabbage. I'm going to go through each one of these now, and then I'm going to get up here and demo a lot of them. Now, I love cabbage, and I really use it. Cabbage, in a study, a quart of raw cabbage was given to 55 patients with gastric duodenal ulcers, and it healed all of them. And I've actually worked with people, and I've told them about using carrot for any kind of ulceration in the stomach. It is absolutely wonderful. And then it reduced the healing time by 72%. Now, this is the key, and you want to write this in your notes, or you will mess up and it won't work. You can't juice a quart of cabbage juice and stick it in the fridge and go get your 4 ounces or 6 ounces when you want it. It won't work. You have to, and this takes work, you have to juice it and then drink it immediately. And you may want to do that, at least depending how bad your ulcer situation is. You may do that for sure 2 times a day, but you might want to do it 3 times a day. And I've had people do it, and they were getting better, but they got tired and didn't want to continue. You know, we're such a lazy nation. We're so used to quick fixes. We'd just rather go take the pill, you know, than to sacrifice doing this. So as I said yesterday, it's important you come first so that God can use you to help others. And we just help others till we collapse, or we don't want to do those kind of things. So please think about it. That's how you have to do it for ulcers. And just about anybody I've ever worked with, it works. It works great. And then this, cabbage is so good for everything that you see written here. It contains antibodies capable of destroying bacteria and viruses. Cabbage does. You know, I'll just hit a few of them. Wonderful for fighting yeast infection, excellent for pain, and that's what I'm going to really zero in on because it's good for arthritis, it's good for bad bruises. You know, you hurt sprains, we can actually put that on her toe. We can put potato on it, we can put cabbage on it, we can put carrot on it, you know, we can put comfrey on it. You can just pick what you want. You can also, and we'll talk about the plantain. I don't know, a lot of people when I've done seminars, they don't know what the plantain is. And that's right out in most people's yard. It's either the skinny leaf or this leaf here, and I'll let you see it. You can use it for almost anything. If you get a sting, if you get a cut, a burn, or anything like that, you just run out in your yard, grab one of those plantain leaves, chew it up in your mouth, get it chewed up real good, and then stick it right on that area. It's amazing the relief that you get, especially in a sting. But it works for cuts and infections, and it is the most wonderful thing. The baby leaves, you can pick them and cut them up and put them in a salad. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it's amazing what's out in your yard that you can do. So right here, it contains a lot of C and E. It's a blood purifier, the cabbage is, and breast engorgement. It's good for that. Now, I'm going to do something when I go home because I have a little kitty that's having trouble now, and I'm going to try to use cabbage. I'm going to grind it up till it's good and soft, and then I'm going to wrap it around her in a chuck to see if that will help because her baby died and she's still getting a lot of milk, and so it's a sad story. But I'm going to try that when I go home because I got thinking, you know, I tried to get my husband to do the clay, and he didn't wrap it around her, and he held it on her, and naturally she's not going to stay still. She'll listen more to Mommy, so I have to get home and do it. So anyway, here's just giving you a little pictures of how it boosts health, improves digestion. Cabbage does. It aids in detoxification in the body. Well, we talked about that, keeps inflammation in check, and it actually helps to regulate blood sugar. But again, you want to primarily learn to make a good slaw. I mean, eat it raw. I love to eat cabbage raw, and I love to cut that heart out and eat it. I just like it like that. So, and it works good for the brain health. You know, these are just any number of things. You can look up things yourself. Shows you there for a sprained ankle. You can put a cabbage compress on it. Where did I do that? Here we go. Just showing you here. This lady had very swollen legs and very painful, so we did cabbage wraps on her, and it's amazing how it just brought that swelling down. I just had somebody tell me a week ago, I guess it was, that this lady had a very bad swollen knee, and she just didn't know what to do, and they were giving her anti-inflammatories to take. So what they did was they ground up the cabbage leaves in a food processor, and they ground it as thin as they could do it, and then they just mixed Epsom salts in it to where it mixed in really good, put it in a chuck, wrapped her knee up really good, and she went to bed and got up the next morning and the swelling was gone. Now, she had a very fast reaction. Some people might have to do it 2 or 3 days, so always remember that. Just because you don't get the quick reaction that you want, stick in there, because 9 times out of 10, especially in the cabbage world, it works, you know. So that's one. Let me see. Breast engorgement, it's very good. And I've had some mothers tell me that, well, I did it and it didn't work for me, but I don't know how they did it, you know. So, and here we have ankle wrapped up, I think it is. Here's an arm that had a lot of problems. Actually had a very bad, was from cancer, and her whole arm was just scabbed up and raw. And so we did cabbage leaves on it. And I tell you, one setting, it made a remarkable difference in her skin and in her arm. Now, red cabbage, I didn't know this until maybe a year ago. I was surprised that red cabbage has 10 times more iron than green. So you got a deficiency, a low iron, you know, you want to eat your red cabbage because it'll help to bring up your iron levels. And then it has the famous glutathione in it, you know, which is the body makes its own antioxidant and glutathione, and you'll build the glutathione in your body if you eat cabbage. red cabbage primarily. You know, it inhibits the growth of tumor cells, and it helps the body to detoxify. It supports nerves and clear thinking. This is red cabbage, you know, and we just look at that and we think nothing of it, you know, and it's wonderful. It's just absolutely wonderful. Let's see. Is that it? Now, I'll just hit onions a little bit. Onions are good for burns, bronchitis, any kind of respiratory, appendicitis. We've had a couple, not patients, but workers at UG Pines that had appendicitis that was short of erupting, and we did onion compresses over the stomach until that infection just went out. I mean, it was a steady work, round the clock. You would put it on for 4 hours, take it off, put another one on, and we did that for about 5 days, and she did not have to go to the hospital. That was amazing. It hadn't erupted yet, but it was short of doing it. Dr. Agatha, she said, you know, we better take her to the hospital, but she wouldn't go. She insisted that it was going to work, and it did. You know, that was one case it did work because of her insistence. And it's, you know, you probably know it's excellent for earaches, and that is you would heat it up in some water, take it out, and again I would use a chuck, and then when you don't just put it over the ear, you put it to where it comes down the neck some. You know, so you want to cover this whole area for children. The heat helps it tremendously. You know, back in the olden days, you know what they did for an earache? Does anybody know? They'd get somebody with a cigarette, and they would puff on the cigarette and then blow the smoke in the ear, and it's not that the tobacco did anything, it was the heat. You know, and that's what they used to do back in the olden days. They didn't know some of these things. You know, in the other countries they did, though. And it can stop a hacking cough. I remember, and what you have to do is you have to put the onion, I open the onion up, put it in a pot that's boiling, and I drop that onion in the pot for a few minutes, and then when I see it softening up a little bit, then I take it out, and I have done a couple of things with it. I have peeled off that outer thin skin, and I have laid that across the chest, or I've done put it in hot water until the hot water in the pot, and then I drained it, and I took care of, anybody know the Little Debbies? Well, O.D. McKee and his wife were some of my dearest friends. And so when they would come to UG Pines, they'd stay at my house to get their physicals, and they had a room called Valerie's Room. And so I would go there. Instead of staying at Wildwood to teach, I always stayed with them because I just loved them. They were such humble people. And he got very sick, and there was a big family reunion. So anytime they had trouble, they'd call me up, and I'd go over. And so this was one of the things that I did to stop his hacking cough. And he sipped on this onion drink that I had made for him, and it stopped it. Now, some people can have this, and it won't stop it, but I'll tell you something else shortly that will stop it. And carrot, who would ever think of using a carrot for a poultice? Now, but we drink carrot juice, and we know that it's supposed to be good for so many conditions, and you know, many, many years ago, that was the classic treatment for cancer. You know, you'd go on, you'd be drinking carrot juice all day long, or carrot and apple. You would do those two together. That I don't know if they're doing much of that anymore, but it's good for sore throats, it's muscle problems, it heals wounds terrifically. And I'll just show you how we do that. Good for burns. It helps to reduce swelling, you know, in painful areas. Torn tendons and ligaments, who would ever think a carrot is going to help heal those areas that have the least blood supply, hardest to heal, and carrots can do the job, you know. But you got to make a good for tonsillitis, good for hematomas, you know, that's sort of like a blood clot type of thing that you get sometimes when you get a good bang and it swells up. So I'm going to show you how to do okay. That's basically it. So let me get back here and just go over some things with you and show you how we do the poultices. I'm going to have a knife right here. Can you all see? All right. I just take the potato and cut it like this, and then I grate it like this. I make sure it's washed off, you know, the outer skins first. But then you just grate it. I know this lady in Australia. Well, it's not the one you're. What's her name now? That's so famous. This was an older lady, and she was such a dear, and she was Miss Potato Lady. She did potato compresses for everything you could imagine, and she had phenomenal results. So if you didn't have anything else and you had a problem, you don't even have to know what the problem is. Just go ahead and use potato on it. You know, if you got a swelling, if you got a cut, if you got a sprain, or any of that kind of thing, you can just do the potato and you're going to get results, you know. Potato and cabbage, for sure, you're going to get good results. Carrots is good for infection and things like that. You know what else is good for infection? If you got a rose bush in your yard, you go out there and you take the flowers off the rose bush and you just lay those flowers over the not the flowers, the petals over the infected area. And rose petals are wonderful for healing infection. Who would ever think of that, you know? Marigolds. You can just go out there and pick yourself a marigold. If you got a bad cut and it's getting infected, and just lay that marigold right over top of it and wrap it up. You know, it's very, very good for that. And I'll tell you, pansies, they're good to put in your salads. The leaves off of pansies, they're great for salads that you can put. Okay, so here's the chuck, and it's just about the same thing that we do when we do charcoal or anything else. Now, this gets juicy, you know. So I can just tape it together, pass it around. You all can just look at it and see what I've done. Let's see. Well, I didn't cut my tape long enough, but you'll see the process of it. Now, this, boy, and I can't think of her name now, but anyway, she would take like a piece of old soft sheet or soft fabric when it was the leg or the arm, and she would lay it out like this. She would grate all her potato, and she'd put that potato in that piece of fabric, you know, that's maybe this wide and this long, and then she'd fold it over and she'd wrap it around the leg or the arm that way. And I tell you, her results with potatoes was phenomenal. So, and carrots, the same thing. I just, let me do this. And, you know, especially with carrots, you know, try to get organic if you can, because carrots really pull up. But somebody told me every vegetable you plant pulls up toxins out of the soil. You know, but you know what? That's why we bless our food before we eat it. We have no idea what it's pulling up or what it's in, but we're doing our best to eat right, to honor God with His instructions to us. And so when we say our blessing, then if there's anything in here that's going to harm us, God is responsible for not allowing that to hurt us. So always remember that. Don't do these, you know, quick blessings that hardly anybody understands what you just said. I mean, you're talking to the majesty of heaven, even at the table. You know, not just on your knees at night or the morning, but you have to remember that and know right in your head that when you're saying that to Him, that He's going to protect you if there's anything that's wrong in there, because you're doing the best you can. You don't know what in the world's out there that they're doing. So I just grate it like this. Now, if you have a food processor and you really want to grate it down, food processors are wonderful to use. I use them for lots of stuff. So here we go again. And I'll just show you how simple it is. And the reason why I go over this each time is because sometimes you just can't remember. Now, did she do this or how did she do that? You know? So again, I just take the carrot like this, put it up here, make sure this piece is over the chuck, you know, and it's basically, let me do that one side or it'll fall out on me. I could just show you from here. You don't do, you know, this is it. And then you just go ahead and put it on whatever you want to put it on. You know, if you don't have potato, use carrot. You know, open up the refrigerator and just look in and say, okay, God, what can I use for this? And, and whatever you use, usually in the plant kingdom, it's going to work. I used to tell people, if you didn't have anything else but a potato and charcoal and aloe, or just charcoal and aloe, you have a whole pharmacy in itself. In fact, they call aloe, she is the queen of the plant kingdom. She has over 120 different properties in it that it can do for the body. So if you had it and you had charcoal, you have one that's going to pull out the poisons or whatever infection. Then you have an aloe plant that's going to provide the healing because it's a cell proliferator. I'm just saying that if you didn't have anything else. But if you had planting in your backyard and you didn't have anything else, then use it for whatever. And always remember to pray. Because the same thing goes for the prayer at the table for your food. It goes for the prayer that you pray over the condition that you're putting this on, and then God's responsible for making it happen in the body. And God gets the glory because God is the one that grew those plants and grew these vegetables, and we want him to get the glory. We don't ever start taking it ourselves because, boy, then you be like Hezekiah. You just get too cocky with your life, and that is not good. I go to Walmart to get cabbage leaves, unless you got somebody growing it near you, and everybody in the stores, they tear off all these cabbage leaves. And this is the best part, especially medicinally for you. Not that the rest won't work, but this. So what I do is I just get a bag and put it all in. It might only be 50 cents worth, but I got a whole lot, because this is what I want to use it for. When Dr. Agatha and I did a camp meeting in North Carolina, and I got up there and told about cabbage and knee pain because it's fabulous for knee pain, ankle pain, elbow pain, all those type of joint pains. It's really good. And I fractured my pelvis about 15 months ago, and I really did a number. I just didn't fall down. I tripped over a high thing up about as high as my knee, and it threw me. And I landed on this hip, but it fractured everything across. Well, I was going to do it this morning, but I didn't have time because it's hurting a little bit. When it does, I just cut this cabbage leaf, put it on my back, and in no time, in fact, the last seminar, here I am, my back's killing me, I'm telling everybody about cabbage, and I thought, what's the matter with me? I thought, what is the matter with me? So I got a cabbage leaf, and what you do is you core it. See that spine that's in there? I put it on my back, and I'm telling you, it was a heavy seminar I did at UCHI last spring because we started doing hands-on. Anybody that comes now, it's hands-on. And so that's quite a feat when you have maybe 30 people in your class. And so it takes a lot of setup. And so my back was killing me. I've been setting up for several hours. And I thought, what is the matter? I went and got that old cabbage, and I cored that thing out like it was, stuck it down my pants, and depending where you want it to go, and I'm telling you, in no time at all of a sudden I didn't have any pain. I thought, oh, if this isn't wonderful. It kills that SI joint pain. It's really good. So now, when we first started doing this, we just take the regular cabbage leaves, wash them off, and you can just use it this way. But in my mind, I said, Dr. Agatha, can I just beat it up a little bit? She said, yeah, go ahead. I just got to see some juice coming out. And then I'm saying, well, yeah, that's going to work better. So one of the ways that I did that was you can just roll it up like this, just like this. And, if you have whatever, it could be a glass, a bowl, whatever, and you just beat it. Just a little bit like this. Then I open it up, be sure I got enough. Or you can just leave it open and do it. But now you'll see, and I can pass it out, you'll see it's juicy a little bit. And you can over it like that and then stick it wherever you want in your back or put it over your knee. Now, over your knee, you really don't have to core that out if you don't want, because it's perfect. It fits over the knee just perfect. And then you ace bandage it on. Well, I'm telling all this about, now we had about 300 people in the audience. When we were through up front, then Dr. Agatha and I go outside the building, and then everybody comes and we're counseling, but we never made it outside the building. Everybody in the audience would say, can I have a piece? Can I have a piece? And I did have a cabbage head plus extra. I'm peeling and peeling. I'm down to the white part of the cabbage. I said, I don't know whether this will work or not, but they said, I don't care. Give me a piece. So I peeled that cabbage down. There wasn't hardly anything left, giving it to everybody. That afternoon, later that afternoon, that night, in the morning, I'd be here, Valerie, I don't have any pain. It's so great. I can't believe it. I said, well, what color did you have? You know, and they'd say, well, I had some of the white or the kind of yellow or the green or what. It seemed like God just blessed everybody for it to work. And I was as amazed as they were, because Dr. Agatha had trouble with believing in aloe, and I had trouble believing in this in the beginning. How in the world is that going to really work? But then I'd say to myself, well, look, all the other vegetables work. Why won't this? And that was a big education. Everybody got results. And so I said, okay, God, I really think this is good. And then when I use it on my own self. So I have used this any number of times with people with really, in fact, the lady that was helping me sew the fomentations, she just had a terrible time with her knee and ankle. So I did the cabbage when she was at my house and put it on. In no time, she said, oh my word, I can't believe it, I don't have any pain. She went home, and let me tell you what she did. She just had a bag of coleslaw she bought at the store. You know, it had cut up red and green cabbage in it, and so she figured out how to put that in a cloth, and she wrapped that around her foot, and she got terrific results. But you know what happened to her? She got tired of doing it. She'd just rather take a pill or something like that. You know, doing it every day, it was, oh, this is a lot of work. And that's what happens because we're in this you know, fast pace, and we don't want to stop to take care of ourselves, but we'll tell everybody else what to do. You know, and then they're the ones getting healthy, and we're the ones laying back, you know, half dead because we don't take care of ourselves. It's really, if you think about it, it's a trick of the enemy to deceive our minds, and we think we're doing the Lord's work and we're doing wonderful, helping all these people, and pretty soon we're laid out, you know, not taking care of ourselves. God wants to use us, and he can only do it if we're taking good care of ourselves. So I tell you all that, and anybody wants a piece of cabbage, I'm going to save an extra one over here for me. I need to put it on my behind. I mean I'm sorry.
That would be an edit.
Yeah, I guess you could say it. It's my SI joint. If you know where that sacrum is in the back and the SI joint, yeah, you could take that out, whatever you do. I didn't mean to say it. It just slipped out of my mouth. I don't know why sometimes things just come out of your mouth that you don't even plan on saying, you know. Okay. Now, I know, I tell you what, yeah, okay. Now, this is a comfrey plant, and for anybody that wants to start comfrey in their yard, I brought enough, I think, here we can make slips from it. And you can take it home and plant it. It'll look like it's dying. Just keep watering it. It'll look half dead. Don't pay any attention to that. That comfrey will start to grow because comfrey is a cell proliferator. In other words, you have injury, it will help to multiply the cells and heal whatever you have. But comfrey does that for itself. So it will proliferate for itself and heal itself, and it will grow. Even though it looks dead, don't pull it up. The next year, boy, it'll start sprouting and coming out of that ground. And then it really multiply for you really quick. There's nothing like having a comfrey plant because it's good for all kinds of rashes, ulcerations, cuts. You know, we use it a lot for cuts, broken bones, because it also is a bone knitter. You know, people don't realize that. You break a bone, and if you're not in a cast or you're in one of the open kind, you can open it up, then put a comfrey compress in there. We have seen that it heals the bones a little faster than it would if it was just in the, good for stings, I mean, whatever you got, just put comfrey on it. It'll work, you know. And that's how it is for most of these natural remedies. It'll work. So I have this up here, and this is what I do when, like right now, when I go home, it's time for me to cut that comfrey down. So I cut and I take all the good leaves like this, and I dry them out. You can wrap a string or whatever around, hang them up till they're dry, or you can lay it out till they dry up, and then when they dry up, I got comfrey. So then I crumble it all up, and then I put it in a bag, and I have it all winter. If I need a comfrey tea, If I need it to make a poultice on anything, I still have comfrey. It's dried out. It still has good properties in it, and you can use it. If you want, and you want to keep it fresh, then you freeze it. You know, you can freeze it between wax paper and then put it in the freezer, and you can pull it out and thaw it out, and you can put a fresh comfrey leaf over whatever. But you know, I've had good results just drying it out and using it throughout the winter, because comfrey is another one of those favorite plants that I like. But if you don't have comfrey and you got plantain growing in your yard, go ahead and cut up a bunch of that now, wash it, dry it out or freeze it, and then you always have it. And what you do with plantain, if you've just hurt yourself, like I said a few minutes, just chew it up and get it ground up, you know, and then stick it on your sting or whatever that you may have, and you'll see incredible results with it. Let's see. Now, for women that get UTIs, you can go, what I've done here, this is stuff you can just go to the grocery store and get. You don't have to call an herb company and get it. You can just buy it in the grocery store. One of the best things I've ever seen for UTIs is cream of tartar. And when I've used it with people, they're stunned at how well that it works. And this is the formula. You do a half a teaspoon of cream of tartar in 6 ounces of water, and for every 8 hours for one 24-hour period, you drink a glass. And most of the time, it clears up. You can go ahead and skip a day if it hasn't quite cleared up and do it again. But you don't do it any more than that, or it's not going to work well in you. So it's a half a teaspoon in a glass of water, at least 6 ounces of water, and then you drink it down. 8 hours later, you do it again. 8 hours later, you do it again. So you just figure out how you do those 8 hours so you're not getting up in the middle of the night doing it. And if you need to get up in the middle of the night, I may as well tell you this while I'm at it, is studies have been done. And I remember Dr. Agatha telling me this, and we need to start telling the people. You want to prevent a stroke, then when you get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you drink at least 6 ounces of water. And you can do that a couple times during the night if you want. A lot of people say, well, then that means I got to get up and go again. But if I say to myself when I'm doing it, well, do you want to do that or you want to have a stroke? You know, and the older we get, we have more potential. Well, why would it protect us from a stroke? Does anybody realize why that would do that? Well, yeah, but what it is when you're laying in the bed and you're sleeping, your blood starts to thicken, you know, and it's getting too thick and coagulating in the back or whichever way that you're laying. And so when you get up and you move, you know, it's going to start moving the blood, and you drink the water, it thins it out. And that's what protects you from having a stroke in the morning, because usually you have strokes in the morning sometime. And so that's a wonderful thing to remember, and it reduces it by 67%. I mean, that's excellent to know. Now, at the same time, don't depend on that to protect you if you're going to still junk out and eat whatever you want. You follow what I'm saying? You got to apply the laws of health, apply the eating healthfully, and then when you do these things, it will protect you and give you the protection you need. Now, I believe on the other side of the fence, there are people out there that know nothing about what we know. And so they may be in your audience, or you may talk to them. You can't get into a diet situation with them. You can just tell them about this if they're worried about a stroke. And then when they do that, then next time you talk to them, you can start adding to it. But if you hit people that know nothing like we know, they sometimes will do the water in the middle of the night. And then as you get to know them better, then you can start helping them diet-wise. But if you hit them diet at first, that'll be it. You'll never have another chance to talk to them. They'll just say, that's nuts. I'm not going to do that. I'm not giving up my good food. Because it was in the medical community, too, years back, never thought that what we ate had anything to do with disease. Doctors would tell you that. They only had 3 hours of nutrition in all of medical school. And I've had them say it to me. Diet has nothing to do with heart disease or whatever it was I was asking them about. And I used to think, this is ludicrous, you know. How in the world can you say that knowing that we all live on it? But that was the way they were taught. And if you're taught that way, you believe it because, you know, the upper echelon, we believe what they have to say. The other thing that's really good for people that have dry skin, and, you know, your feet, you don't have sebaceous glands, oil glands in your feet. And so, in your heels, and they get, you know how they get hard and all like that? Well, then just good old coconut oil is one of the best things in the world to soften up skin. You know, just coconut oil. You know, and fractionated coconut oil, you can always put that in creams and anything else that you want to do. Now, I'll tell you another remedy, and people fight me on this, but I'm going to tell you it works. And I'm going to tell you the expert that told me was Dr. Calvin Thrash. That was Dr. Agatha's husband. Because we had patients that would come to UT. We had it quite a bit. They would just be dry skin, you know, and mainly when you get older, everything dries out. And so everything goes south and dries out. It's just, maybe I shouldn't have said that either, you know? Anyway, I tell you, my mouth is just... Okay, now this is what we would do with our patients. You get good old Vaseline. And people say, oh, that's a petroleum product. We can't use that. Dr. Calvin explained all the chemistry to me. He said it doesn't harm, it helps. And so you take a shower, and you get out and you just damp yourself off. You don't dry yourself off. You leave yourself a little damp. You get the Vaseline, you put it in your hands like this, and then you just rub your body all over. And I want to tell you what, you will have beautiful skin. In fact, in the winter months, I have trouble with my hands drying out and my lips. Every night when I go to bed, I put Vaseline on my lips and Vaseline on my hands, and the next day they're just like a baby's hind end. They're so soft and smooth. It does a wonderful job, and I would do it with my patients. That I would help them so that I could rub it on their back and down their legs for them, and they would just be amazed how well their skin was. And you will too if you do that. Now, you could do coconut oil. That will probably, I mean, I tell them to do that for their feet especially, you know, because feet dry out, and that's really good for that. The other thing, I was telling several people here earlier, and I don't know how this works, but I have too many people tell me in an audience, now maybe some of you know this here for restless leg, that you just take a bar of soap, any kind of soap. This is some Amish soap. I usually make my own soaps, but I just use this as in my demo. And you just put it under the covers down by your feet or your legs. You just leave it there all night long. And people tell me if you do that, don't ask me what's in it. Don't ask me how it works, but they seem like it calms down their restless legs. Now, you know, again, remember in natural remedies, what works for you may not work for you. But it's worth a try if you're, I mean, I have people tell me all kinds of terrible things for restless leg. The other thing that I suggest, when your legs just won't stay still and your feet are driving you nuts, go into the bathtub. You can stand in the bathtub, you can turn on the hot water and just stick one bottom of foot underneath the faucet and let that water just run on the bottom of your feet. And if you want, you can just do a foot bath, but somehow with the water pounding on it and running on it, many times you can get out of there, dry yourself off, and they're all calmed down and you can go to bed and go to sleep. That's one of the things. Besides, there is some nutritional things that you can take. There's a nerve complex by Emerson Ecologics, and I think you can get that possibly in the health food store. You can ask about it, and that works very well for people that have nerve problems. The other thing, this is going a different way. Let's see. Oregano oil, we talked about it a little bit. You know, that's just a natural antibiotic. It's a natural antifungal. It is wonderful for athlete feet. It's wonderful for jock itch. It's wonderful for fungus nails. Now, how would you do it for fungus nails? You can't just put it on the nail. What we do at UT Pines, you either get a really good nail file or a piece of sandpaper, or if you have one with a little motor on it, and you file the nail. You rough it up really, really good. You're not trying to file it down, you're trying to rough it up. And then when you rough it up real good, and then you rough around the edge, cut your nail back as much as you can, and then file around the nail. That opens up the cuticle of the nail. And then when you put the oregano oil on it, it goes into the area, because everybody thinks, well, that fungus is just right there. Well, it is, but it's also underneath. And so you want to be able to do that. You can probably get the best results by doing it that way. There's not too much out there, you know, that works for fungus nails. I mean, there's different companies say that they have this will work and that'll work, but I've not tried them. But I know this works. But it won't work if you don't file down and open up the cuticle of your whole nail. Now, everybody says, well, that little white thing is cuticle. It is, but every hair strand is full of cuticles. You know, everything on your nails are all full of cuticles, and you just want to open that up to put that oregano oil on it. And again, it's great for jock itch. If it burns you, and it can do that sometimes, then you just add a little bit of oil with it. You know, if you don't have fractionated coconut oil, that's one of the best, but you can put a little bit of olive oil or whatever, and then you can put it on. Do you know what, I think I told some of you this, in Purdue, not that I'm promoting chicken, but Purdue, which is from where I'm originally Pennsylvania, but I lived in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, where Purdue, the industry is there. They used to feed their chickens lots of antibiotics. They no longer do it. They feed them oregano oil in their water, and they don't have all the diseases and stuff that they used to have, just because it's a natural antibiotic. They don't give them antibiotics anymore. They give them oregano oil. Not that I'm promoting, it's still no good to eat, you know, but to know they're doing it, these big, and there's another chicken industry that's doing it now. So if they're doing it for their chickens, and it works, it ought to work for you. So anything where you need a natural antibiotic on, use oregano oil. It's considered, you know, like 5-star type of thing. Let's see, kills parasites as well. What do I have here? Also, splinters. This is another good one for a potato. You just slice a piece of the potato off to the size where you have a splinter, like you can't get it out. It's so deep and you'd have to dig it out, and you don't want to dig it out. You take a piece of raw potato, you put it over that splinter area, tape it on, and by morning you just take that potato off and it'll be out just about. So that's another good way for splinters. Okay, now these are just spices that you can buy in the store, but you can use them, except this is parsley flakes. It's another one that's good for bladder infection. So if you want to steep up a tea, you can just buy parsley flakes, and it'll work along with it. And you could do that along with taking the cream of tartar. But I would do the cream of tartar first, and then you might follow up with drinking the tea for the next week, just to make sure that you kill all the bacteria in there and that infection does not come back. And so this is marjoram leaves. You know, you can just buy it in the store. And it's very good for bronchitis. You can make a compress over the chest in a chuck. In other words, you would put this in water and you can make a compress over it. You can, after you steeped it really good, and you can make a gargle where you can gargle with a sore throat. It's very good for that. Now, gargling once doesn't do the trick. You know, you have to do it a number of times. And again, through that illness, be careful how you eat, especially with the sugar family, you know, because sugar just is like adding flame to the fire, you know, and so it'll just make your condition just going over. Speaking of that, I'll just tell you one other thing, because it just came to my mind. So that's margarine. Dr. Agatha taught me this years ago, and I remembered to do it one time, and it worked like a miracle. You feel something coming on, and you're saying, well, you don't know if it's bronchitis, you don't know if it's upper respiratory of some kind, you don't know whether it's the flu or what it is that's coming on. For 1 hour, every 10 minutes you drink a glass of water, you know, and then you will run to the bathroom quite a bit, and then you go outside till you walk it off. And I'm here to tell you, when you've walked it off, you'll feel like, I'm better, it's all gone. And that happened to me once. I was getting sick, and I knew I was getting sick, and I thought, what am I going to do? So I did just that, and I walked and walked and walked and walked, and all of a sudden I felt the relief come. and I was well. I never did get really sick. There is a Russian penicillin. Anybody ever hear of it? I tell you what, that stuff also works like a miracle. I remember I was getting sick at Uchi. Sometimes I work so hard, and then people come in there, they're sick, and then, you know, I pick it up sometimes. When you're exhausted, you have a more potential of getting sick or picking up something. Well, somebody had left in our tea room in the refrigerator several things of Russian penicillin, and I thought, oh, patient went home and forgot to take it. And so I started taking it. I'm telling you, it cleared me up in just a few days. This stuff is wonderful. And I think Curtis says he has, he can send it through your email. And here's the other thing with restless legs. I forgot to say this to you. Don't be using caffeinated drinks, coffee, teas, and stuff like that. It sets it off. And so then you want to take some calcium or magnesium particularly, because magnesium relaxes the muscles and the nerves. And it's good to take magnesium before you go to bed at night because it will relax you very, very good, you know. And then, of course, doing stretching exercises and so forth. And there are a lot of foods that are rich in magnesium, so you might want to look that up. And I have some names here, but lack of time, we just won't do it. Now, plantar fasciitis, who's ever suffered from that? That's a mean animal. I'm here to tell you I have suffered terrible from it. I do have some new arches that I'm using that are supposed to be for it, and it seems to be working good. But what you do, I don't have the frozen, maybe, Curtis, can you get that frozen thing for me, please? The frozen, the long bottle. Now, I'm not going to take my shoe off, but I'm just going to show you how you do this. You just put this on the floor somewhere, and you put your foot up like this, right where the plantar is. You know what the plantar that causes this condition? You have the Achilles tendon that goes down the back of your leg, goes around your heel, and connects right between the end of your heel and where the arch starts. And that's where the problem is. So when you stretch this out, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and then you want to use the ice bottle, and what you do, you just roll and roll and roll on this. You'll need to put this on either a piece of carpet or a towel so that you can just roll and roll. It'll hurt so good. It'll be like, oh, it's killing me, but oh, it feels so good. You know, I remember when I tell my patients, tell me when this hurt, whatever I'm doing, tell me when it hurts good. They said, hurts good? I said, yeah, it'll, you know, have you ever had it? Like, it hurts, but it feels good, like you're doing the right thing. That's what this will feel like to your foot. Now, the other thing, I could not make it without this. You buy this at Walmart for $3 and something. It's a wheel crock, you know, to hold your car so it doesn't, you know, run over somewhere. You know what I mean? You put one of these under the front wheels. Men know more about this than me, but that's what you got to go to the automobile department, and they have them on 2 aisles. You don't want any other color but this one. This one is perfectly set for the foot, believe it or not. And there's 2 ways. You see, this is concave. Don't use that, or you're going to be in worse shape. You want the flat side. You see what I'm saying? I'm telling you, you can all try it when you get up. It is the most wonderful. I don't know what I'd do without this. I mean, this is my lifesaver. Besides using this to massage the foot, that's what this is doing. It's helping with the inflammation because it's hot. I mean, the inflammation is, and this is cold, and then you're massaging that area, just rolling that foot across. But this is the other thing that's wonderful, because remember I told you, the Achilles tendon, that's the back of your leg, your, what is that, what do they call that muscle? What is it that you would call this? Calf. I know it's the, yeah, the calf, that's a lay name for it. You know, the anatomy name is gastrocs, but you know, huh? Yeah, it's the gastroc. But we, you know, people don't know that, so you say the calf muscle. Everybody understands the calf muscle. Well, that muscle, when it tightens up, and it will, you know one of the reasons why it tightens up? Because people are lazy. They don't walk. They don't stretch out before they walk and stretch out when they come back. And then you can set this condition off. And I'm telling you what, you want to bang your head. Anybody's had it as bad as me, you want to bang your head against the wall. It hurts so bad. And so I just got over a little bit of it because I've not been doing what I'm supposed to do. This is what you do. You put your foot like this. Even now when I do it, oh man, it feels so good. Oh, it just stretches that, and you want to hold it there for at least a minute. You know, then you switch to the other foot. Depending how bad everything is, you can go back and forth several times, and you want to do this several times a day if you're really suffering from this particular condition, and you'll see a marvelous difference. I'm telling you, mine's doing pretty good now, so I don't have a really bad, tight gastroc. If it's going to be tight, it's going to hit me in this foot. I seem to have more, but it's pretty good, but it still feels good to stretch it. And so when you know you're going to walk or you're going to hike, stretch out before you go. If you don't buy one of these things, then go up to a step or get a nice size book and put your foot on the end of that book, and you can still stretch it. And you don't have to, what you want to do is like this. What I do, you back your knee, but if you can't do it by making your leg a little, not totally stiff, just slightly, where there's just a tiny bend at the knee. And then what I do, I just let my body do it. I lean forward. I don't try to do anything down here. All I do is lean forward. And I can lean, you know, if it feels real good here, I can lean a little bit more to stretch it. You know, and you don't want to do it fast. You don't want to cause tears in the muscle. So you're just going to lean and go with it. And you'll reach the place where you know, okay, don't go any further. This is good. And then hold there for at least a minute if you can. And you don't want to do this rocking stuff. You just want to lean into it and lean forward. And I'm telling you, if you keep the gastrocs nice and stretched, then you won't more than likely have the plantar fasciitis problem as often if you have it, or may not ever have it again just by stretching. So before you walk, stretch them. You can just stretch them each one a minute and then go for your walk. Then you come back, because you know when you walk or run or hike or whatever, you can you can stress those areas out because of all the, that's why they say, you know, stretch out before you go, stretch out when you come back, because now you've got your muscles all heated up. So then you just come back in the house and you just go ahead and stretch it again. And I'm telling you, it feels so good. Anybody want to try it? I'm telling you, it's wonderful. I don't go anywhere without this. And the next thing I'll show you that I said that is tennis balls. As therapists, you don't always have somebody to help you when you're in trouble. I'm saying I'm helping everybody now. What can I do for myself? So we all came up with this years ago from a man named Anderson who put it in a book of his. Nothing like tennis balls. You want to do your own massage. You want to cancel trigger points. Like you hear of myofascial pain. That means that in the muscle there becomes a very tense area. And it pulls the muscle tight. And then that, oh man, that where that trigger point is, we call it trigger, oh, it'll just about kill you. It can hurt so bad. So this is what you do. Okay, you have to do this on the wall. You can lay down and do it. I do better on the wall. So let's say my hip, I got a really bad trigger point and this hip is killing me. So you just take the ball, you just go up against the wall like this, and you roll around till you hit the trigger point. And when you hit the trigger point, you'll know it because it'll hurt. And then you just lean into it, and then you count to the count of 7 or 8 and let up. Wait a second or so, and you can do that 2 or 3 times. And many times that trigger point will just release. You know, sometimes you may have to massage it a little bit, and so you can. If you don't have a trigger point, but all that aches and hurts and whatever, you can just massage. You can move that ball around wherever you want and massage. And so you can do that with your shoulder. You can do that with the place on your back. You can just, you know, like, okay, I got this area on my back and it's killing me. Just stick that old tennis ball back there and just roll it in really good. And then to get the nice massage, let me show you this. I love this. You see, here's 2 tennis balls, and you want to put this between where your spine is. Your spine should go right about here. And so you put it, you have to kind of scoot down a little bit, get it right on your back really good, and I tell you, you just, oh, Oh, it's like the best massage without a person doing it that you'll ever have. It's called self-massage for therapists. Oh, my word. It feels so good. Some people are strong enough they can lay on the floor and roll that back and forth. I've never been that good at that. But this, oh, my dear. And you could just keep moving that, move those two balls up the spine as far as you can do it. And I'm doing it. Oh, I tell you, I needed this. Oh, it just, oh, you can't imagine how good this feels. You know, and you can go down as far as you can go. You don't want to run over bone. You know, anytime you do a massage, you don't do things over bone. But I tell you, it's wonderful massage, you know, that you can do a self-massage this way. And cancel out pain if you have really bad pain in your shoulder somewhere or somewhere in your buttocks. You can roll it out. I mean, you have to do a little bit of this, but you can keep massaging it to get those trigger points worked out if you happen to have trigger points. But even if you don't have trigger points and it hurts, then just massage it out when you don't have somebody to do it. We thought we used to put our hind ends on the doorknob, trying to work it out on a doorknob. We'd take our backs and we would go on the corner of a door like that, and we lean into it and we try to massage ourselves this way and that way, and it does work, but nothing like this does. Okay, I only have a few more minutes, and I want to tell you about this because this is important. Probably the next most important thing. Two things. I did this because Susan, we both got bit by some kind of ants today. And so Susan was just going nuts with itching and swelling up. There's nothing like meat tenderizer. Now, don't panic. All this is bromelain. It has been, which is from pineapple, very concentrated, and it'll neutralize almost any kind of itchy, like, you know, getting bit by mosquitoes. I live with this jar. I won't go anywhere without it. And so when I get bit up good, sometimes I go into the bathroom real quick if I got bit up good outside, and then I just dampen my hand, and then I just sprinkle this on like this if my hand is wet. And then wherever it is, then you start rubbing it. You get two benefits. One, it itches it fabulous for you. I mean, it gives you the best itch, you know, and you can just keep that up. And then the pineapple, bromelain in the pineapple, will neutralize the sting, the poison in the sting. Now, sometimes we have to do it 2 or 3 times. I don't know what, Susan, yours, it stopped it? Yeah, and she had really bad welts from these. I never knew that the brown ants could bite you. The red ants I'm familiar with, but we got bit by brown ants. So then the other biggie, this is something you can buy in the store, Xlear. Is anybody familiar with this? It's really xylitol, but if you feel like you're going to get something, you know, upper respiratory, whatever's going on, I carry this in my pocketbook because if I feel anything or I'm around people sneezing and coughing, you squirt this up your nose, it will kill the bacteria because when you're going to get a sinus upper respiratory infection, first the germ goes to the nasal passage, and then it develops there. Some germs it takes a day, some germs 2 days, some germs could be 3 to 4 days before it develops, and then it goes into the body, and you're done for. You're going to get good and sick. But if you can kill it up here, you won't get sick. So this is a good thing that kills it, or even saline. So through the winter months, I would clean your nasal passages out every day with saline or something like this. And then let me just tell can I just tell this other one really good? This is cayenne pepper. Now the cayenne pepper I had up here to sell is like almost 150 to 175 heat units. I mean, it'll make your hair stand up on your head. So you have to be really careful how you use it. But I have had people I just get a baby jar like this and put like distilled water in it, because your regular water itself can burn you. Put distilled water in it. Put about, if you were to use this, but you can use regular cayenne pepper, and because we don't have time to do it, then you just put about 1/4 teaspoon, put like 2 tablespoons of of distilled water, and then put about 1/4 of a teaspoon to a 1/2 a teaspoon of red pepper. This one you might only put 1/4. And then you let it sort of sit for a while and shake it up really good. Then, if you have a migraine headache, and I've had it happen right in my seminars, I had a man walk up to me, he didn't know I was going to show this. He just walked up to me, he said, I'm getting ready to get one of them terrible migraines and I'm going to throw up and I won't be able to stay here. Do you have anything you can tell me to do? I said, oh yeah, we do. So you take a Q-tip and you dip it in this, and the cayenne mixture, where you're doing cayenne and distilled water is what I suggest, because it won't burn you as bad. It's going to burn a little bit, but you'll have to adjust it to what you can handle. You will feel a little bit of burn, but nothing exaggerated. You go, if the headache's on this side, you go up this nasal as far as you can go, and then you swirl it around. And you can do that 2 or 3 times. In all the cases that I've worked with, it always stopped it. I had a lady in the audience that had headaches every day for months. And she said, do you think, it wasn't migraine, but do you think it'll work for me? I said, look, we try it, let's see. And we did it, and it stopped her headache within a few minutes. But then it would be back in an hour. That's what I discovered. I said, okay, what are you doing? What are you taking? She was taking a medication that had a side effect, and the side effect was headaches. I said, well, you got to get off of this. But in the meantime, this old cayenne would stop that headache even from the medication. So it's wonderful. The other thing, I'll just tell you one, well, there's so many things, is you can take a chuck and you can make it to the size of your bronchial, your bronchial area up here. Cut it to the size of it. You put oil, and I spray the oil on, or you can pour olive oil, it doesn't matter what you have, or you can make one of these for each of the bottom of your feet. If you've got a really bad coughing and coughing and coughing and you can't stop it. And of course, you know at night when you cough, when you've got a problem, you're going to cough the most at night. So you can take, after you put the oil on there, then you can go ahead and sprinkle this all over it really good. Now, don't be shallow with it. It isn't going to burn your skin at all. And then you go ahead and you just, we have to watch this thing here. You can put this up high, because your bronchioles are up high on top of the lungs. So you want to put this all the way across your chest, and then you want to sleep not laying down, but sitting up somewhat, and lay on your left side if you want to turn over, not your right side. You'll cough more laying on your right side. I think that's how it goes. One of the sides you cough more, but I think it's your right side. And you will 9 times out of 10 be able to go to sleep. However, you can also put it on the bottoms of your feet, and it'll stop the coughing. So you can try either way, and you will get some results with, because nothing's worse than coughing all night long. And so anyway, I think I've given you, I could keep on, but I won't. I tell one more thing about migraines, is coriander seed. They say if you make a tea of coriander seed and drink a cup every day, it can prevent migraines. So, I haven't done that, but that's what they say about it. So outside of that, I think I've covered everything. Lavender, if you put that on you, it'll help you sleep. If you're driving, take peppermint oil with you, and you can't quite stay awake, chew gum and put peppermint oil at the back of your neck. And I stick it under my nose. And then that'll help to wake you right up. And then chew gum. Okay, I do think, for one more thing for headache. This Loma Linda doctor discovered how to do something, because the patients with headaches all the time, not necessarily migraine. Lots of headaches, lots of neck problems come from a lot of stress or computer like this. There is a muscle called the levator and the trapezius. It starts here at the back of the neck, goes down over the shoulder, and comes over to here, and then goes down the back this way. That muscle can tighten up, and I tell you what, when I get under stress, I know I'm under stress because of that muscle. And there's been people I examine and I feel them, and I say, are you upset or stressed about something? They say, how do you know? And I said, because your muscle's telling me. And this is the primary muscle that kicks in under stress, or always in a bent position. That's why you need to get up every hour and do some kind of exercise at your desk and stretching your neck and doing that kind of thing. But when you get the stress resolved, usually this muscle just gives in and it's back to normal. But here is his, for people that suffer from it, I have some here that you can take, and he had such good results. I just took his article out of the paper and just copied it off. And he's from Loma Linda. So I have that. But anyway, thank you all. You've been wonderful to put up with me. I really have appreciated all of you. You've been an excellent group, and I just pray that the Lord will guide all of you in your ministry of outreach to others, because that's our work. We're medical missionaries, and we know that the medical missionary work goes through to the end. You know, God bless you.